What's the word, players? Welcome back to our annual series where I talk about 3 non-horror games that scared me. I started this last year, so if you haven't had a chance to check out that episode, be sure to check it out right here. But otherwise, let's get into our first pick. I think all of us know Tomb Raider in some sort of way. From playing any of the mainline series games, from watching the movie, or by reading a gaming article of how Square Enix sold the rights to Tomb Raider to a company called Embracer Group. I have no idea what this means for the future of the franchise, but hopefully something good comes out of it. I really hope this statement doesn't end up on poorly aged things. Developed by Core Design in 1996, Tomb Raider is amongst one of the first 3D platformers, alongside Super Mario 63 Plus 1, Crash Bandicoot, and Bubsy 3D. I was born just during the time when games went from 2D to 3D, and when I saw Tomb Raider for the first time as a kid, that game blew my mind because, believe it or not, this game looks so realistic. I mean, we have worlds that we can actually traverse in, things have a sense of scale. We can actually see what's ahead of us as opposed to just sticking to a side-by-side transition or a top-down perspective. Tomb Raider absolutely blew my mind as a kid, and it also terrified me a lot. Because for one thing, there's barely any music that plays most of the time, and also there's a lot of random jump scares in the game. Here's one example. There's this one area pretty early on in the game where you come across this little hut area. Now up until this point, you've mostly just been fighting wolves and the occasional bats here and there. So you come across this hut thinking that this will probably lead to like a switch or a key that you need. So you go into one of the openings, and what do you find? None other than a giant bear. Like, what the heck, guys? Why is Kuma from Tekken just chilling in this one spot, not making a peep until I get close? Completely messed up, man. That moment literally made me scream and drop my controller, and I almost died during that encounter. So that moment definitely put me on the edge for the rest of the game because it made me feel like I was not safe. But it really pales in comparison to once you encounter the Atlanteans toward the end of the game, aka these skinless guys that look like they were ripped straight from Resident Evil 2. I don't know where they came up with the idea of these guys, but just looking at them just makes my skin crawl. Pun sort of not intended. It's been a while since I played through Tomb Raider 1, so I'm not sure exactly how we get from fighting gorillas to fighting dinosaurs to fighting these things, but it's a memorable experience to say the least. As a child of the 90s, Disney completely took over my life. And now they take over the whole world, but that's besides the point. During the 90s is when we have what's now called the Disney Renaissance, which is where we got classics such as The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast. You know how the Disney Renaissance is. But this is also when we have Pixar coming to the scene, and they released their first feature-length computer-generated movie called Toy Story, which asks the question, what do toys do when we're not looking at them? Now, obviously the movie did great, and the next movie that Pixar did was A Bug's Life. Now, I'm not sure how A Bug's Life ranks for most people's lists, but for me personally, I love that movie, and it's probably one of my favorite Pixar movies. So naturally, when I heard that there was a video game adaptation, I begged my parents for a copy of it. And thus, I got A Bug's Life on PlayStation 1, developed by Traveler's Tales. It's a 3D platformer that follows the plot of the movie, for the most part. Now, something I didn't realize before revisiting this is how chatty Flick is throughout the game.
Yeah! The day started off. Yeah! Progress. I'm invincible!
Could you not be yourself? For 5 minutes!
By all accounts, it's a pretty serviceable 3D platformer, but there were a few roadblocks that I came across when I was a kid. So level 1 starts off innocently enough. It's bright and colorful, the music is upbeat, and there's plenty of space to run around in so you can get used to the controls. So you know what? Let's completely take all that away by the second level. Suddenly you're underground going through dark tunnels. The music is intense. You got these centipede or whatever these things are popping out of the walls. You got grasshoppers dropping from the sky like a SWAT team. This second level was just completely stressful for me as a kid, and it was just complete reversal from the first level. But nothing could have prepared me for when you fight Dumper. It already took me ages to build up the courage to finally beat level 2 and make it past all those grasshoppers, but Thumper was an entirely different story. He was already scary enough for me as a kid watching the movie, but fighting him and hearing his screeches and having him chase you around, it was too much for my little heart to handle. I hated this fight so much, I would always just run away from him and hide. But it is satisfying for when you finally do beat him and you see him explode into a million grasshopper chunks. But what's next? Oh yeah, so it already took me a long time to build up the courage to beat level 2. It took me even more courage to finally beat Thumper. But then we get into the next level, which is the riverbed, and you have the bird. Again, hated the bird from the movie, but the bird in the game straight up gave me PTSD. Having this bird circle around you the entire level is incredibly stressful and made me feel very unsafe. Lisa from PT, child's play. The bird from A Bug's Life, that's true horror right there. But the thing that absolutely broke my heart as a kid was when you touch the ground. So what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to grab a dandelion and you're supposed to float across the riverbed without touching the ground. However, if you do touch the ground, then the bird swoops down and insta-kills you. You see Flick plead for his life before getting crushed by 2 powerful talons. He falls back and you see his big lifeless eyes just staring at you. You did this to me. That messed me up as a kid. I just killed Flick. How can I watch A Bug's Life knowing that I killed the main character? So it took me even longer to finally make it past that level. Honestly, at that point, I just stopped playing the game. My heart couldn't handle it. I was traumatized, and I had other games that I could play instead, such as Spyro 2 and Treasure Planet, the video game. Not gonna lie, I kinda miss when licensed games were all over the place, especially since a lot of them ended up being 3D platformers. So I'm going to end this list by talking about one of my all-time favorite and underappreciated series, Rayman. Now last year I talked about Rayman 2, and I might want to revisit Rayman 2 because there's a few more things I didn't get a chance to talk about. But for now, I'm going to talk about Rayman 3. In Rayman 3, you play as the title character as he helps his best friend Glowbox get rid of the leader of the Black Lumps, Andre, who's in his stomach because he accidentally swallowed him. Hey, yo, what? Compared to Rayman 2, Rayman 3 is a lot more straightforward. It doesn't take itself seriously, there's very little puzzle solving. In fact, most of the time you're just going to be literally throwing your hands against the enemies called the Hoodlums. But there was one level that changed things up. Halfway through Rayman 3, you reach a level called the Desert of the Canaran. You cross the hot sand before making your way up the tall structures. Now, you do come across this one teensy that gives you this warning.
Hey, Big Nose! If you want to cross the desert, you need to use the tunnels.
But it won't be easy. The tunnels are swarming with Canaran, and those beasts are invincible.
Yeah, well, you got a better idea?
You bet your bet $1 I do.
Okay, listen closely, Big Nose. Do not let the Canaran get near you. You understand? Never! If they get their claws on you, you're dead. Well, it was a nice knowing ya!
But you continue your climb. You meet up with Glowbox, you make your way through the tunnel, and then the floor gives way. And that's when you encounter the Canaran. Now, unlike all the enemies that you faced up to this point where you can solve your problems with your fists, the Canaran are invincible, so you have no choice but to run and sandfish your way around them, because these guys will stop at nothing to kill you, and they aren't afraid to let you know it. When they're not screeching at you, they're saying lines like this.
Tear off his flesh, skin him, crush his bones.
This is a kid's game, by the way. Now, eventually you do come across some funny lines such as this.
Spit in his eye, make him write bad checks.
Honestly, as a kid, I was too frightened to even notice lines like this. I just wanted to get out as quickly as possible. Thanks guys for invading my nightmares time and time again. Hey, thanks so much for watching guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what non-horror game scared you. If you're looking for a non-dominational church, down in the description below is a link to our church locator. If you're interested in studying the Bible or you just want to hang out, link to the Discord also down below. Now there's so many more games I wish I could include on this list, but 3 seems like it's a good number and it'll definitely give me enough content to last me for a while. But we'll see, that might change. But if you haven't seen last year's video on this, definitely check it out in the meantime, and also watch other videos, subscribe, all that stuff. and I will see you next time. Peace. Okay, so I wasn't sure exactly where to fit this into the video. There's no way I was going to talk about Rayman 3 without bringing up this ad. Seriously, what the heck? This is as 2000s as you can get. No arms, no legs, huge features. Hey yo, what? So weird.